With all the loops you have learned about in this section, there are two keywords, break and continue, that can change how the loop behaves. In this demo, I'm going to use a while loop, but what you're going to learn applies to all kinds of loops you have learned in this section. So let's start by declaring a variable called I and initialize it to 0. Now we put this in a while loop. As long as I is less than or equal to 10, we want to display I on the console and then increment it. Save the changes. So this gives us numbers 0 to 10. Now sometimes you want to jump out of a loop for some reason that may happen at runtime. For example, here we can have an if condition, an if statement with a condition like this. If I equals 5, we want to jump out of this loop. That's where we use the break keyword. Now when we save the changes, see what happens? We get the numbers 0 to 4. So at the end of the 5th iteration here, we increment I. Now I is 5, so we break out of the loop. Now let me comment this out and look at the continue keyword. So I'm going to write another if statement. I want to see if I is an even number or not. So I modulus 2 equals 0. If that's the case, I want to increment I and then continue. Let's see what happens when we run this code. Save the changes. We only get the odd numbers. Why is that? All right, let's take a look at an example. So when I becomes 2, it's an even number. At this point, we increment I, so I will be 3. Now, when the JavaScript engine sees the continue keyword, it will jump to the beginning of the loop and continues execution of the next iteration. At this point, I is 3, so this if statement is not executed, and that's why we see I on the console. Now, in my personal experience, continue is not something that you would use that often. It's one of those old legacy things in the JavaScript language. I'm only explaining it here in case you see it in projects that you're working on. But it's not something that I recommend you to use. It's an ugly way of writing code. So just to recap, with the break keyword, we jump out of a loop, and with the continue keyword, we jump to the next iteration.